guess yours, Gando, since I guess if anybody's like uniquely streaming on a platform, otherwise it'll default Gando. Just so I can like have it open in for chat reasons. Eventually, I'm going to get a second monitor, which is this thing, since I have a ultra wide, super fancy dancing one that I want to get.
I have 4 monitors.
Well, congratulations.
Technically, I have 4 if I use my phone.
I can't.
I have 5 if I use my phone.
Like a stereotypical nerd in their cavern, like Wade and Kim Possible.
Yes.
Okay, have you guys watched this guy?
No.
Yes, I have. Oh my
Who?
gosh. Oh my gosh.
I've seen him on YouTube.
Oh my gosh. It's so accurate. It's so accurate.
What guy?
It gave me PTSD. It gives me PTSD watching his stuff, but I love it.
What guy?
This guy.
Don't push him.
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah, I just saw that one this morning, actually.
Alright. Let's see live.
Silicon's in.
What? I heard you say something, but I don't.
Are you streaming off the one?
That's required.
You can't do TikTok either, can you?
Doesn't look like it, no. That says not approved or revoked.
Yeah, see? That same thing I had.
Why can't I see your stream on TikTok? That's
You can be live on TikTok, apparently.
Oh, that would be.
That's what we were just talking about. Our access is under review.
Huh. Tree.
Like I said, mine shows, yeah, it shows I'm live. I can enter my own damn chat. Derek, you lost the game. I looked up, saw you joined. I have to tell you. I already lost today, so, nee.
Wow.
Dang it. I can't post the link tree in my bio because I have to immensely trim down my about me. I don't want to do that.
Yes. Hi, Derek. I'm ready whenever you guys are. I mean, we're live on everything now.
I'm working on it. I'm working on getting my lives.
You failed.
Whatever update OBS did, we now have to reconnect everything.
Yeah.
I'll log in to verify my age. I don't want to log into TikTok. Damn it. Oh, whatever. I need the I only need the chat anyway. Pop-up chat.
Ooh, charge some batteries for later.
I cannot do pop-up chat.
Also, BT Dub, what do you guys think of my new logo?
It's actually, I enjoy it. It looks good.
Oh, yeah.
But you're going straight up red?
I only have one monitor, so like I have 1,000 tabs in Windows.
Peasant.
Hey, it's a 1440 by and 165 hertz monitor, so suck it.
Oh yeah, duh.
How big is it?
Under the Helm.
It's 32 inches.
Okay, I got two 24s in the TV. I see. I got 3
I don't
monitors.
even know what I have. I just
I'm
have
fancy.
monitors.
I'm fancy. I have 3 monitors.
I have 4.
Yeah, but you're also a major content creator compared to me.
I mean, this is true. This is true. I have a few hundred followers. Yeah.
I don't make money doing this.
See, I do.
I don't.
Well, when I stream consistently.
I need to stream more.
Yeah.
Not go live for me on OBS.
I definitely should be.
But I'm at least streaming on Twitch. Kando's doing the TikTok live for us once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing everything because it's
This is the way.
This is the way.
Ubiquity.
This is the way. What are we talking about?
know the way.
No, please don't
Yeah.
stop. I hate that meme. I literally hate that meme.
Do you know the way?
Every fiber of my being.
Do you know the way?
D-Way.
Told us that. Shouldn't have told us that.
I honestly, I hate that thing too, but it's been so long since I heard it, I can tolerate it for a little bit.
Every time, every single time I hear it, I'm like, oh
No.
God dang it! Like,
Try
it's not
going.
the real one.
No. Try going into VR chat, dressed as a Mandalorian, and having all the Ugandan knuckles huddle around you. Follow you. It's annoying.
Well, that's the
Him if
thing.
you know the way.
Yes, they
Do
kept
you
asking
know
that and wouldn't shut up.
D-Way?
I do know the way. I know the way to super.
All right. All of you need a lobotomy.
Where do I sign up, please?
I mean,
Yeah.
I was dropped on my head as a child.
Same.
My mom told me I was the twin that she didn't drop on my head.
She lies.
Yeah, of course. I don't have a twin. I have a younger brother, but I don't have a twin. It's kind of hard.
All right.
Everything looks like it's live on all of the things.
Something like that.
At least on
So
mine.
I guess I should stop doing my designing and at least get us kicked off here. Allora, so good car. Baljate Tour, Nervode, and visitors to our podcast and TikTok lives. We appreciate you being here. And for those of us who join later, hey, we appreciate y'all tuning into the uploaded version too. I am Kadali Kabor. I am your host, joined by Kando Shia, Untamed Mando, the Little Battle Dwarf, Damned Throne, Autonod Banao. We are your co-hosts and hosts. So, last podcast, we started off the month. Where'd my Discord go? Oh, I'm stupid. We can edit that part out, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
Leave it in and just put a, I'm stupid.
And then start the podcast.
That is nothing new.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, I didn't have the tenant pulled up. I didn't even think about it.
You don't have them memorized? How dare you?
I am not a true Mando. I do not know D-Way.
I do.
I did that.
That just clicked.
The fact that it took you a minute.
Well, I was just thinking about something.
Cue dial-up tones.
Dude, that is my brain. This is the world runs on fiber optic. My head's on
Hamster.
dial-up.
It's the
Hamster dying. Can't go.
My hamster has been dead ever since I was 25.
Oh, that'd be like 13 years ago for me.
That'll be 3 years ago for me.
Alright. Let's go ahead and get into it with a reading of our tenet for the month. A Mandalorian must never be the one to initiate violence. A Mandalorian must never be the aggressor in a given situation. We must retain our self-control and mastery of our actions at all times. Violence includes acts of Violence includes acts of physical violence, rape, theft, direct threats. And yes, I have to say great because we're live on social media. But you get what I mean. Take two, assholes. Violence includes acts of physical violence, rape, theft, direct threats, etc. Please take that laughter out of there. That's not a funny topic.
Sorry.
This means a Mandalorian should only react with violence against violence first perpetrated by the aggressor. We are not the aggressors. This said, a Mandalorian must restrain ourselves to only use the amount of force necessary to end the threat, escalating violence. Don't bring a gun to a knife fight. Bring a gun to a gunfight. Bring a knife to a knife fight. Bring a fist to a fist fight.
There's no honor in outgunning the enemy if you're fighting for fight's sake. For protection, that's a different story.
If you're bringing a minigun to a knife fight,
Wait.
no.
What about bringing a minigun to a gunfight?
I would say that's a different ball game
I
style.
would still say there's escalation to that too.
So I mean, what's stopping
That's
you
like
from
bringing a
bringing-
nuke to a fist fight.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Force with equal force.
Yes, equal or comparable force.
Don't bring a hunting rifle to a pistol fight.
Don't bring a 44 Magnum to a AR-15 fight. You'll lose.
Don't bring a 9mm to a BB course.
And don't bring your VSS
Wait,
Antares.
does that mean a 22 is
airsoft
okay?
match.
What's that, Kando?
Does that mean a 22 is okay to a BB fight?
No, because
That's
the
actually a
second
BB
hour-
gun, but there's a lot more powder behind that versus air.
Yeah,
even rapidly expanding. air.
obviously joking.
Everybody else at the BB course. What's that meme? Me saying there's more than one way to skin a cat. Everyone else at the vet's office.
I've actually done that before accidentally.
What?
No, not skinned a cat at a vet's office. No.
I've actually done that before. Everybody at the vet's office.
Way to backpedal so quickly.
No. I mean, no. I said the expression at a vet's office, then forgot. Location.
Like, that's what Ahmed said when they were talking about the unalivers camp.
Yeah. The martyr survivors, or the martyr people.
Yeah. Let's finish the 10. A Mandalorian must restrain themselves to use only the amount of force necessary to end the threat, and must not allow an innocent to be harmed by his or her actions, if at all possible. Insults and verbal assaults, other than direct threats, will not be considered cause for violence. Likewise, a Mandalorian must refrain from making those threats or jests about violence upon those who have committed no act or direct threat of violence. The Mandalorian stands prepared for war, but we do not seek it out. This is the way, Ebit Rooney.
This is the way.
Ibikaruni?
Okay, now we can go off on our tangents.
My
Oh,
bad.
it's gonna be so interesting to try and edit.
I mean, if anything, I could record the tenant and then send it over to you.
Oh, I can do that too. Yeah, I have weight.
Yeah.
I think what I might do is like text to speech and just do the
Over Canale's
edit
voice.
all of that part out. Just put the text to speech.
Or I can read it
No.
again and you can edit all that part out.
No. Let's take a thing out of epic rap battles. do Kadale's face and animate his mouth with a square moving up and down, saying the tenant properly.
I'm not that good. I'm not that good. I'm learning. Not quite there yet. Nah, it's all good. I'll figure it
Hey,
out.
there's your animation right there. I just did it for you.
Yes. Okay, so
There you go. There's some more.
it's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be unhinged.
Imagination.
So I think I might do two different edits. One will be professional, and the other will be bloopers.
Yeah. At this point, you're gonna have to.
Be for the TikTok.
Yeah, send me the one of the bloopers. I'll post it on TikTok.
Yes. So many thoughts and ideas. So little time.
The chaos.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Oh, okay. So, one little thing about the tenants that would be important to understand is how important de-escalation is, especially with not initiating violence, but also defending yourself when somebody wants to initiate violence on you, or say someone who can't defend themselves, and you just kind of want to distract them from harming everybody around you, and those methods can be done with shifting your mindset, communication, and just standard negotiation. Like in feeling, putting your place in the perpetrator's shoes, and trying to understand how or why they feel how they feel, and then the use is a judicious use of authority, and which is pretty much being a judge. Well, should I be doing this action right now when, you know, like, whether you have a gun in your hand, or a safety baton if your local laws corroborate that. Um, but I just kind of want to break down, each of those points to where a shift in mindset is pretty much changing your point of view and normal ways of thinking. So most people want, and especially Mandalorians, want to be warriors and have that mindset. Well, that's handy when you're actually in a gunfight, but when you're in a I just want to keep the peace, kind of thing, you have to be more of a guardian or a protector kind of mindset, emphasizing your willingness to de-escalate and problem solve the situation and compromise with everybody's involved, so things don't have to go down into break down into a gunfight, or some kind of weapon fight, and then that kind of evolves into the communication and negotiation. Most police officers are trained in the communication techniques, and we need to be versed in those different styles of communication, whether it be through body language or verbal communication. And that's why it kind of ties into shifting in mindset, because a shift in mindset makes your brain work differently, and you'll use different vocabulary when you're in a different frame of mind. And that's why that kind of negotiation, that style of negotiation, is important. And so it's kind of that's like where the empathy kind of ties into the communication negotiation. If you can understand where somebody is at that moment, you can then better communicate with them, saying, "Hey, I have this train of thought. I'm going down. I would be angry. If I was in your shoes. That's messed up. But there's ways to kind of push into effective outlets, rather than just wanton destruction or violence upon others. And so, kind of using that empathy, kind of like as a knife, not necessarily to harm, but to defend and corral. So, like, back in the shepherding times of humanity, there would be a tool called a goad. All it is just a dense wood stick, and you would use a goad to kind of bat at sheeps and goats to kind of motivate them, not hurt them, but to motivate them into going into areas that you would otherwise want them to go. And you kind of want to do that same thing with with empathy communication, with the mindset of I want to protect everybody, not be combative. Even verbally combative is not conducive to the situation at hand. And so, and that's with the judicious authority. It's you're using, you're standing up straight, you're puffing out your chest, but not as a sign of bravery or just being an asshole, but you're actually just like, hey, I'm going to lead everybody in this situation right now, and as long as you can kind of effectively delegate what's needed and kind of take charge of the situation, because everybody's going to always obey the person who has the most confidence in a certain situation if they go awry or if they get a little bit hinky. But and that's why you kind of the shift in mindset to where you need to be a leader and say, hey, let's calm this guy down, let's see what's the problem and see if we can defuse the situation. Because sometimes it's going to be like you're down, you're on the street partying, and comes out of the bar, and like this dude is like hitting on this chick and like yanking her around by the arm and stuff like that. Well, it's like, well, technically, yeah, it's upon your due diligence as a citizen in society to say, hey, I see you're leading around. What's the situation? That's not that's not right. But I just want to know what's going on, because nobody should be acting that way. And that's kind of a thing that modernity kind of stole from humanity, to where nobody wants to get wrapped up in everybody's business. But as a local community, it's up to you to kind of keep the peace and kind of be a what is it called? It's like a subcontractor for cops, but on a volunteer basis, to basically say, hey, this is happening over here. Send an officer to go deal with it. But it's again on a volunteer basis. I forget what they're called, but they're like kind of like confidants. Centuries, so so forth. Yeah. So another kind of quick way to remember, when you're actually doing de-escalation is remember the 4 C's, and that is containment, control, contact, and communication. So if you can contain the area to a smaller manageable chunk, everybody's not all over the place and you're just running with your chicken hot off trying to actually solve the issue. Control. If you can control the amount of variables, it becomes less stress inducing. And then contact. If you're properly contacting the direct people involved, it allows you to cut to the chase quicker than having to talk through somebody else, or so on and so forth. And just communication, saying the right words, being in the right mindset, having the right attitude through empathy to dealing with that situation. If you can memorize those 4 C's of de-escalation, then those are going to be like a tried and true ways of actually being a proper keeper, and a proper just
just human.
Yeah, proper human, but also a leader. In a society of lack of better term, and I find this not funny, sheeple. Yes.
There are so many sheeple around, though. Like, it's crazy how many people think they're the main character, but actually they're a sheeple.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is the main character of their own story.
But that also doesn't mean you should treat poorly those that are not part of it.
Please,
Right.
no, I'm not. That is not what I meant at all.
I know it's not what you meant, but the viewers watching at home, or the listeners listening at home, might extrapolate that into putting words in your mouth that are invariably not true.
I can agree with that.
But the thing is, he wasn't going to go, without, a facsimile of a fight, because he didn't know what was going on, and so his fight or flight instinct kicked in, to where he was being verbally combative to the nurses and the head nurse and all that stuff. So we had to go up there and say, hey, like, what's going on? What can we do to make you feel more comfortable? And it's like, everybody involved, both my supervisor and I, like, we were like, hey, we know it's scary, right? Especially like you listen to the doctors, you know your doctor, and but the thing is, you either pass with dignity and be remembered as a patient who is kind, caring, and just brave for going into the unknown, or you can be known,
on
as
the
the
contrary,
contrary,
let
Fight.
as the prick and possibly have the soul haunting the hospital. Which there was a few, unfortunately.
And so it's just like he kind of thought about it, and he was originally against the idea, but as we kind of kept on explaining it, he kind of settled down and kind of really thought about it more. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll go ahead and settle down. But he was, he's basically essaying the nurses, and that's I always posted up by his door to protect the nurses from that ever happening, because he didn't do it when other men were around, which I find hilarious. But yeah, it's sometimes you need to do that, restating what you said, because originally, if somebody's in a hysterical, emotion wrought mindset, they might not correctly process what you're trying to say. And I'm not necessarily saying like just repeat what you're trying to say as a mantra, but more as explain it, or try to explain it in a couple different ways in order for them to at least grab onto one, or hopefully multiple, to create a more a more colorful picture of what you're trying to bring to the environment. I
think, right. I think one of the other big things that we need to remember, like, somebody is verbally attacking us, or getting more and more aggressive towards us, to make sure that we have our egos at the door. Because a lot of times things can escalate because your ego is hurt, their ego is hurt, and it doesn't end well. So instead of having like a pissing contest, just calm down.
Right. And it's having, whenever you're trying to do the competition of the one-upsmanship, that always escalates the situation rather than the contrary, which is the goal. And so it's like you have a bunch of, like, you have people, emotions are high, and stuff, and it's like you may want to seem better, and that kind of social competition is natural, because animals do it for partners all the time, and we're no different. But at the same time, you need to recognize when to let your ego go, and when to kind of like temper it. It's like, hey, what if I'm not the bee's knees in this situation? And that's kind of a healthy ideation that, surprise surprise, Marcus Aurelius has commented on one of his writings, in that if you are led by your ego, then it's the antithesis to stoicism, and therefore you're able to be manipulated by others who use that against you. And in the political sphere, specifically, Marcus Aurelius was a Republican, whereas he said, hey, the Senate should have all the power, and people should elect into the Senate, rather than having a Caesar, a monarchy. And it's like, political manipulation can be done ultimately through pride, or some, and that's where most downfalls happened. China, the Great Wall of China was actually infiltrated uh, two separate times, and both of them was through bribery. They, some negative, some bad actors of some dynasty were like, hey, here's 15 shillings, Chinese, shillings at the appropriate time period. Here's 15 shillings. We'll double this amount if you're here at this time of night. And then, that happened twice, a couple hundred years apart, when the Great Wall was a thing, because bribery, greed, and the politicians who first erected the Great Wall of China thought that it was impenetrable, and to this day, it is, one of the wonders of the world, because it's you know machination. It was just so great at the time that it was not impenetrable, and people only got through it by bribery. And so that's like, if you actually check your ego, it's like, well, this could be fallible, or this thing that I did, or this attitude that I have could be infallible, but what if it's not? And kind of like, not necessarily like have low self-worth, but more so have a way of like checking yourself before you ultimately, you know, wreck yourself.
Right.
It's in the Christian's Bible, it is said it's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And
Right.
and through
I love that.
and through that, it's better to delegate with less words than more words.
Or in the words of Space Jesus, Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's the fool? The
The
fool or the
fool.
one who follows him?
Exactly.
Right.
So you don't necessarily want to be the fool, but try to lead, not necessarily just through empathy, but logic and empathy, where one comes first and then the other follows, to temper what you're trying to say and how you're trying to calm down the situation. And so, like, you're having the right mindset is very important. That's why I kind of talked about Marcus Aurelius for the length of time that I did, because that is a very important aspect to where you want to avoid actively getting emotionally compromised and entering a pissing contest.
Eeh.
Well thought out and long-winded explanation.
Well, I mean, de-escalation is no joke. Like, it's one
No,
of the
it-
most
no.
serious ways to interact with a socialized, quote unquote, socialized society. It's just
I'm not
letting
criticizing.
sloppy fights
I'm
before they happen.
congratulating you
Right.
because I could not go that far. that
You
that
want to
was
know
a
what the easiest way to de-escalate is?
The my bad 20.
Leave.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's like literally, um,
Like
reading.
tensions are up here, you're up here.
Well, and that's sometimes what is needed. It's like, if somebody's
Express.
being an asshole, what you need to do is sometimes just go get away from the person and just take a deep breath, or take a moment to yourself and say, "Man, that makes me mad. Is that going to ruin my day? No." And you need to say that, sometimes, with your own voice, and just, believe it, because some bad actors through your day, some people are like clouds. When they disappear, it's a brighter day. But instead of actually, shuffling off the mortal coil, like that the expression, implicitly states, removing yourself from the situation removes the influence of the bad actors into your own life, and just taking a moment to breathe. And sometimes, even with some therapeutic meditations, they have something called a clench and release meditation, to where
I do
either
that every morning.
sit and either sit in a chair or lay down on the floor, preferably the latter, and you literally clench for 30 seconds a different body part, the muscles in the body, and you release them after 30 seconds. And then you kind of do that you just relax for 30 seconds and then move on to a different extremity. So
I'm
usually
sorry,
people. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm being immature now. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're fine. And then a lot of people go, from the toes, up the leg, and then work on the hands, and then up the arm, yada yada yada. And just doing that actually reduces the amount of cortisol that's present in your blood, which then makes you feel better. But then another kind of thing is like just the body language of how you're interacting with somebody, who's being the verbal attacker or so on, so forth, so on and so forth. Just having this, if you're like totally closed off with pounce on you and make it, have an opportunity to, make the best of the situation and make sure they're on top. Because ultimately, when people feel angry in most situations, they just feel afraid of their situation. They're uncertain. And that triggers the fight or flight response. And for people, some people, they want to get out, go away, go home into their man-made cave. Well, some other people have prefer to fight the uncertainty, and that's not wrong, but it's just sometimes it's not the right reaction to the current situation.
We're having so much fun over here on the camera.
I can see y'all. I can see y'all.
We're children. We are children.
Yep. Very much.
We have to make it entertaining to watch.
Very much.
We have to make it entertaining to watch.
Our children.
Well, I mean, in Marine age, 30. I know, because the stresses in the military, like, ages you exponentially beyond your chronological age.
You don't have to tell me that. Shit, I've been there.
No, I know, but for the listeners at home.
I might look like an adult, but I'm a child with a drinking permit.
Exactly. Goodness. But yeah, to kind of add on to or expound or whatever.
To amplify.
Expand.
Amplify. Sure.
Piggyback on what he just said as a caveat.
Yeah. Sure, we'll go with that. We can see every day in real life bad examples of de-escalation techniques not being implemented, even by people who were supposed to be implementing them, like, i.e., police officers. There are police officers who don't do well at de-escalation. We've all been there. And they're supposed to be trained at it.
Well, and that's the
Training
thing.
does not mean they follow it.
Right.
Let's be honest. How many times we've been trained something at work, and we're like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna do it this way because it's easier."
Yeah.
Way to call everyone out on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm double hands raised on that one for me.
Yeah,
But I do it safely.
That's fair. Safety isn't an accident, and I'm definitely guilty of doing stuff not safety.
No, so
just because it's easier.
one of our safety philosophies we have at work is safety is actively managed.
See,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing worth doing is worth getting hurt over.
I had a similar situation yesterday. It was, I have a dumb idea. And I'm going, sometimes you don't do dumb ideas. No. There's a difference between I have a dumb idea and hold my beer and watch this shit. Though you don't do that one. The dumb idea is just that, a dumb idea that might actually work. The hold my beer and watch this shit, something's gonna go bad.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you can't do that.
watch me. Watch me, mother effers. Watch me.
So, for example, you guys know I work in recycling. We have industrial baler, we have industrial shredder, and we have an industrial guillotine. Like, this thing's 120 inches by like 80 inches tall. Anytime we work hydraulic guillotine.
Oh, okay.
Not
Ch-
off with his head. Not
choppy
that
chop.
guillotine.
It's choppy choppy really fast.
Actually, really slow.
Well, because it gear ratios.
Yeah. But when we're working in that area, we have. Okay, so normally we wear like blue colored cut resistant gloves, like A6 level cut. When we're in the guillotine area, we have to have A9, which is very fucking high cut resistant. We have to wear arm guards, like those cut resistant. They go from like right here to right here, like that long from wrist to where I have my hand. I've kind of gotten away with being able to wear this, but I still technically am supposed to have the arm guard on above it.
And
We also have our safety glasses, which is a standard in the plant anyways. Steel-toed shoes, standard in the plant anyways. Earplugs, standard in the plant anyways, because it's a recycling facility. It's noisy. More so around the machines than it is on the dock, but it's a requirement for the plant. Hard hats, requirement for the guillotine. Because you're working close proximity to a 120-inch blade that is very sharp. Like, you've seen those videos. You take a knife, you go through a piece of paper. That sharp, no pressure.
mm-hmm.
Like how I
The
like
material,
mine.
on the other hand, could be a bit of a bitch trying to cut through, but that's the material, not the blade.
And for those who have no idea what A9 cut resistance is, it's what you get when you're just under chainmail.
Pretty much. It's not poke resistant, it's cut resistant. You can still take something sharp and go poke, 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 and still get skin. You just can't slice action cut.
The difference between
Funny that I just did that with a
damage and
covered
piercing
scalpel.
damage.
Yeah, piercing. There we go. Thank you. It's not pierce resistant. It's cut resistant.
For those who play D&D, it's the difference between a 1d6 and a 2. What's it?
2010.
Yeah, 2d10. Yeah.
Yeah, my brain has all of the D&D stuff because later today I will actually be playing some D&D, so I'm just like
Same. Yeah, I'm be doing Cyberpunk D&D though.
But hey,
Back on topic.
de-escalation. Like one of the techniques, which this should be common sense, but when you're in the middle of like being yelled at, it's very difficult to remember. Don't get up in the person's grill. Like, if you want
Having
to
boundaries.
de-escalate the situation, back away. Don't go forward. They're gonna try and come after you. Like, if they're aggressive, they're gonna like come towards you, and like you want to, as best as you can, back up and get some distance.
Right.
Getting up in
and-
their face ain't gonna help.
And respecting personal space also saves you from possibly de-escalation is unavoidable with some people, especially under the use of different drugs and narcotics. And different intoxicants. Sometimes de-escalation is just a fever dream, and having that boundaries in personal space will save you from getting a sucker punch. But also, as we talked about previously, being just aware of your situation. Well, maybe the guy that I'm talking to is one half of the equation, while the other guy is setting up, being a distraction and setting up for a sucker punch, or other possible malfeasance situations. Well, you just kind of have to do the Hunter ensemble, and sooner or later you're going to kind of start thinking of yourself as a cop, because you're basically that you're the first responder to a situation that's gone awry. But the thing is, you can't just do it with severity and bravado, because as somebody somebody once said, I'm pretty sure it was Michael Kirkbride, writer for the Elder Scrolls. Bravado gets people killed. Confidence, saves lives.
Mm-hmm. Being loud and boisterous, like myself, not good for de-escalation.
Right, and that's what I touched on earlier. Less words equal better. Like less word better. And more word. Not many people will listen to more word.
No?
Well,
Exactly.
and some of the times, and this isn't every single case, but some of the time, that other person that is upset just needs somebody to listen. They're upset.
They
want,
vent.
yeah, they need to vent, and you trying to tell them what they're saying is wrong is not
Hey,
helpful to the
calm
situation.
down.
Yeah,
Calm down.
that doesn't help. Sometimes you just need to shut your mouth and just let them go. Just
Smile and nod. Smile and nod.
Well, it's smile and nod, but like a lot of the times,
I thought it was smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
a lot of the times, a lot of people can tell. That's with their body language. You actually need to show them with body language that you're actually listening. So if you're, it's open body language, not crossing your arms, not crossing your legs. A lot of the times, yeah, not being because like whenever you cross your arms, a lot of people are like, oh well, you're being a parent, right? And you're not actually listening to me, or maybe they have negative views of parentage. Well, that is something that is not helpful, but also pointing your feet towards the person who needs to be listened to, it also sends the message that, hey, and this is more of a back of the mind thing that they understand, more of a conscious, thought, but it's more of a, hey, you're the center of attention. I'm engaged with you and nobody else. I'm actively paying attention. And so, shut up. And and so it's like that kind of stuff. If somebody's been emotionally damaged, they're going to be on guard and watching for you not either paying attention or not actively listening to what they're trying to say, and therefore they're going to be further guarded, or that's just going to trigger them to physical violence. And so that's where the empathy comes on. Don't listen to somebody for the sake of having them run their mouth. Actually listen, ask intelligent questions, and provide either solutions, but ask them if they want those solutions, because sometimes people just want to be listened to. And then the other times, sometimes people just want a friend. And sometimes people just need a friend.
Mm-hmm. Tando, did you mean to quit the stream on Twitch?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
What?
Quit the stream? No, I don't know what happened.
I'm still recording, so.
I'm still recording, so.
Well, on TikTok, you're fine. It was just on Twitch, just showing Kadali.
Oh. Everyone's still here, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, it still shows Canada's live on TikTok. On my side.
Yeah,
No,
on
she's
TikTok.
talking about Twitch.
Oh, okay.
I know they both start with a T.
I just don't pay attention to.
One has two teeth.
TT.
Yeah. Just
I would put it-
further proof that guys can focus on more than one thing at once.
Oh, not me. Oh, definitely not me. Television is a bitch. But yeah, it's just not initiating violence is much more multifaceted than a lot of people would care to admit. Just because it's over encompassing subject, that's usually why a lot of officers, a lot of peacekeeper kind of occupations kind of go off script because everybody has their own idea of de-escalation, and that's with varying degrees of success, and that's not necessarily needed because what works, and humans can, usually pick out the honest, like, do-gooders versus the people who just, well, this is what I want, fuck you. Um, yeah, and so it's like, just all it comes down to is just respect. If you respect the individual, and that's where I really like the Christian's way of thinking of treat others like you want to be treated, and judge people not necessarily on what they're doing, but their intentions behind it, and that you can only deduce that through communication. And one instance is the human propensity to judge yourself by your intentions and judge others by their actions. Well, if they're doing something, they usually have a reason behind what they're doing, and it makes sense to them, even though it might not necessarily be what everybody does the same thing. Well, I'm like, their heart's in the right place, but you're doing the wrong thing, and you're causing a hubbub between a larger group of people, and that's generally to be avoided. And that's where you can either teach if they're willing, or corral them into another section where they can do their thing, fizzle out, and then go back to planned programming, planned visuals, planned interaction.
Regularly scheduled programming.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to go for. And it's just rather important to have these skills, because it is both tenant compliant and also better ways to navigate just through general life.
I think it was Confucius. The golden rule.
Yeah, the golden rule is literally, mind your manners, treat others as you want to be treated, and don't judge too harshly based on others people. Some people are just evil. Some people will just do evil for the sake of it. But then there's people who do. It's kind of like, and for D&D alignments, you have your lawful good, your neutral good, and your chaotic good. Well,
I like the neutral side.
like for me personally, I'm chaotic good. I don't care about the laws because my morality dictates everybody is going to be, helped by this archaic thing that goes against, some laws. But it's inherently all the way around good. It spreads goodness and positive values. Well, some people have a problem with that because they want to be, law compliant. I understand that, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's one particular right way of doing things.
Right.
Just like
Hey,
de-escalation
so,
techniques.
Yeah.
The camera.
Watch you bio got
El gato.
Yep.
and so it's multifaceted, but it's all a framework, kind of like a spider's web, to support the main don't want none, won't be none, but also walk softly and carry a big stick, like we had mentioned last week.
I thought it was speak softly and carry a big stick.
It's interpreted in a copious different way.
Makes sense.
Because in the Christian Bible, and I believe in the book of Psalms, it's either Psalms or Proverbs. It's be as harmless as doves, but deadly as serpents.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Nope, didn't work. Whatever you just did.
It's
That's
fine.
all.
There we go.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's
All
all
I
I
have to
got
say about that.
We kept on target most of the stream here too.
The three of us goofing off while he was talking.
I purged most of my brain on the subject of de-escalation because how important it actually is to interface with life.
And all us just having fun was just a bonus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Even with what I know, like putting in podcast form, if it even just changes one life, it's
Very true. Very true. So the good thing is we're actually at 50 minutes.
Yay!
We could actually legitimately end here.
Can we go, Dad?
No conspiracy.
Bill would be so proud of us for staying on topic.
I know.
No. I haven't heard from him, so he must be busy. All right, Silicon, you can do conspiracy corner.
Yay! I mean, I still will call it Conspiracy Corner with Dirge, even though it's technically Conspiracy Corner with Silicon. So.
Okay, hold on. I figured out why your camera's not working. It's because it's conspiracy corner time. And
I got my helmet on.
Put on
Conspiracy
the
corner.
tinfoil helmet.
First helmet on. Let's go.
All right. So, the theory, the conspiracy, the U.S. invaded Iraq for a Mesopotamian Stargate. And for those of you who don't know what a Stargate is, you should watch Stargate Galactica. Basically, a Stargate is a way to transport yourself from one end of the galaxy to the other end of the galaxy. Right? Is that? Okay.
It's stay for the most part stays inside the galaxy, but yeah, for lack of a better term, yes, it is planet to planet.
And the History Channel actually did a segment on this theory as well. So if you watch History Channel, you can go find this episode there. But basically, if you are a person who believes in ancient aliens, it is theorized that there are specific gates, one in Egypt, one in the Middle East, one somewhere in South America, and one, I think, somewhere in the depths of Asian country. I'm not sure exactly which, maybe China, maybe Mongolia, but basically the ancient aliens. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's the Eastern Tibetan Plateau.
Yes. But basically, the ancient aliens that visited Earth would come through these gates as kind of like a rest stop, a gas stop, or whatnot. And basically, ancient humans were able to communicate with these aliens. And there's quote unquote evidence all over for UFO sightings, the drawings that are in the Incan or Aztec Empire, crop circles, all of these things basically are proof that there were ancient stargates all over Earth.
What about the one in Wyoming?
I mean, that could be a thing. But yeah, basically the entire start of the Iraqi war was because the U.S. wanted to get their hands on this Stargate.
And to kind of give a little bit more conspiracy corner some meat. If those are fans or longtime fans of Alex Jones, then immediately a bunch of people just like left. No, but he had a guest talking about the mountaintops. There's some select mountaintops being portals or called gateways, being that same stargatey kind of vibe, but except for teleporting you to different planets, teleporting you to different dimensions. And whether that be true or not, I don't know. I really don't care. It happens or doesn't. Doesn't affect my life whatsoever.
If you want an actual quote unquote scientist to if you want to read a scientific paper, there was back in 2003 a Dr. Michael Salla, Salla, wrote an in-depth article about this theory.
Also known as fan fiction.
So yeah, basically this particular Stargate that the U.S. went to war over is about 370 kilometers southeast of Baghdad in this ancient city of which the city did exist. It's U-R. I'm probably saying it wrong, But
No, you are.
yeah.
It's is actually the name for a region in ancient Hebraic.
It says the ancient city of so I think it was both. There's a region and a city.
Well, is what the Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews call it. It wasn't actually called and a lot of people was thinking that was what nowadays was Sodom, Sodom or Gomorrah.
Right. I know of that theory, but basically I'm just reading the particular article that I I loaded up on this, but basically they're saying that the conspiracy goes all the way up to like Congress, and like there are congressmen that know about this and all of that good stuff. That there are soldiers still stationed like in Iraq and Iran and Syria and all over these places, that basically the whole reason we're fighting in the Middle East is oil. It's Stargates.
Interesting. Wonder how Yemen factors into all that, because that's where a bunch of Navy men and airmen are stationed.
Hey, I don't know. I don't say I believe all this, but I'm not saying it can't be a thing. But also, like, I don't know.
I mean, there's people who think the moon is made out of cheese.
And there are still others that think that the moon doesn't exist and it's a figment of our collective imaginations.
And also, some people, this is not sponsored by, but I just want to mention the Y-Files, to where it's no moon, it's a space station.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, there's a video from the channel called Y-Files if you want more information on what we're talking about. It's not sponsored by, but I just find the channel personally really, really cool.
Oh, fresh air.
But yeah. That's Conspiracy Corner with Silicon.
Thank you.
And let's make sure we edit out that last 8 minutes so nobody ever hears that again.
Wow.
What do you mean?
Wow.
I mean, are you volunteering to do editing?
No.
Then it's damn, mother effers.
It's got weird.
It'll be in the blooper reel, so don't worry.
No coffee. My world has ended.
Here you go.
Does it actually taste like coffee?
Yes.
It does actually.
Is there
Yes,
a
it
vanilla
does.
flavor?
Caramel, but there's vanilla, there's root beer. I'll send you the Amazon link.
Ooh,
Amazon link.
send it to me too.
All right. I actually thought about contacting them and making videos so they send me free stuff.
Honestly,
I'll do it on TikTok, dude.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I thought I was gonna do.